to be honest, cornering the ball when they had the chance to, but I think that's what Bandalukas has got to be a bit more cautious around. They can't allow them to do that against them. They've got to have it on their side, and Kaido's going towards it now. Using up some of that utility early on, pushing it forwards ever so slightly faster to hand as well, so that could be a cause of concern for Wesley here. He just tries to get the mute early on as Tufa, just pushing back Wesley more and more into the corner here on the right-hand side. It's in his low here. Honey Molasses might not even be enough. The honeycomb will keep him alive, but ooh, bit of a shaky start, to be honest, for Bandalukas.
Yeah, Dino throwing those shots forward now, trying to push Tufa back, but not having the easiest of times of it. He just keeps on wiggling in and out of that range, baiting out these shots, but VT's in. A couple more shots into him and it will go down. Pizzino finds the mid, goes for Tufa as well, might be able to find the connection, but actually doesn't. And with the knockback of Wesley there, Lasserar puts him straight in Pizzino's wake, and he manages to get the kill. See this 3K shot now as well, but misses it once again. And we just haven't seen that much from Pizzino in this. I feel when the map was opened up, he really didn't do a lot to prove his point. But now the takedowns are there, and this might be his chance. But to be honest, even at that, it was Adinho who got the kills. Goal scoring is there, and Pizzino and the boys in Bando de Luco are now 1-0 up.
Fantastic stuff. I've got to hand it to Tufa though. In that moment, he was able to stay alive for so long, and he really is trying his best to keep everything together. Bit of an opportunity here for Clash. Kaido though just being a little bit patient and obviously concerned for the Dynamite, and there's that great synergy there, but a bit of a missed bomb there, bit super there from Adinho. Could have definitely done better as Kaido was slowed in the process. Now pushing forwards, great Honey Molasses there from Pizzino to defend, and BC's in pretty low, he can't really push up the left-hand side here. They're going to push the ball forwards here, and DeLucas and Dino going to bomb it, big barrel, boom! Oh! He gets it! Great stuff, and Bando DeLucas take the set!
Although they've got a 3 FPS camera, we can see they're pleased. The bit of relief in there as well, maybe with some of this, some of these smiles. But at the end of the day, what a play! What a play with the Dynamite there. Saw the opportunity, and honestly, I was thinking left, and I'm sure you probably were as well. And they've done it a few times, and my heart starts beating, thinking they've missed it. Almost picked it up off the line with that invulnerability there, but did manage to sneak it through just in time. And Bando de Lucas are ahead once more.
Honestly, now Clash have just got to be feeling a little bit worried about this situation. You've got to remember how dominant they were last year, and in every year, realistically, in the BSC across the regions. And this could be a grand finals which we don't see them in, and that hasn't happened for a very, very long time. They need to pull their socks up big time here. Knockout be coming up soon, and Bandalukas surely have got all the momentum that they need to be able to get this draft on point and to secure it. They've got to get some resolve, get some order in-house. And again, I feel like Tufa is really doing so well, and I feel for him big time here. Just small mistakes here and there from Clash, but they are starting to add up, and that's the problem at the moment. As a few times just dropping the ball a bit too much. This was a great goal, honestly. What a placement it really was to land that goal. Beautiful stuff, honestly.
I mean, people question the Bandalukas comp, and we did here and there, but honestly, with the matchups that they had, it was pretty for Bando de Lucas, obviously, and a little bit higher DPS, especially on Wesley, who clearly been playing well again against these Clash players, but it's not a position that as I said, they're not going to be too scared about being behind, but at the end of the day, you know, at a certain point you kind of have to be. Even this could be a knockout early on, and with only one spot for each region, one spot for the LCQ, they don't want to be in a position to be dropping out, especially after coming second last month. They started well, they want to be doing the same again.
Yeah, these are really important times across all the regions really here, because getting towards that mid-season time, and you know, that's a crucial pinnacle moment where, you know, often a lot of rosters looking around to kind of see what they might maneuver things, and if the results aren't going their way, you know, that can obviously make a big impact on things. You feel like sometimes along the way, Clash's drafts haven't been great today. They've obviously got a firm strategy. There's no doubt about it. If you look at their bans, they're very, very calculated. They've got a game plan. It's just that what follows on in terms of the picks doesn't tend to line up with what they've got in terms of their vision.
Yeah, no, I do think the exact same. And, you know, as you said, with Knockout being a pretty sketchy mode in terms of if you're behind, it's going to be quite difficult. You only get out. It's not the best place for Clash to be in, and you mentioned this. It is going to be scary for them, regardless of all of their stature in the competitive scene. It's a really tough position. going for them. They need to come in, they need to get a good draft, and they need to be able to win this one out. See the bans coming in now, and Vander Lucas, regardless of playing throwers in the last one and succeeding quite heavily, clearly don't want to see any in this one. We've got the Tick Sprout and Grom bans, and it seems like Clash don't want much of this ranged approach or that max speed approach. We've got Bonnie, Brock, and Max as their bans as well.
Kind of long-ranged idea, and I'm not too worried about having a lack of super. But Gene going to come in, and I do prefer that from Clash a little bit. Having the shots just continue to disperse the way that they do, just allow you to push back a little bit more and more along the way. But you won't be able to necessarily get the most out of the healing puffs until the later stages of the game, so there is that to consider as well. But Bell is definitely on the cards here for me. A lot of the longer-ranged ideas. We saw already today Vander Lucas going with the Piper, so they're not afraid to pick it. It might be more of their third pick kind of idea, but nonetheless, definitely the throwers being out of the mix will take away a lot of control. There is the RT, yeah, straight away. And no, I don't necessarily mind it. I can understand why teams are going for it. The amplified shot, marker on the players of your opposition do make a big difference as the team congregate together to ensure the takedowns here. But let's see what they want to add and combine with it. Ultimately, for me, it definitely makes a big difference having these throwers out of the mix. Some aggression, though, potentially needed, something to push forwards. Wouldn't go amiss here. Let's see what they go for.
Well, we will see. I do like the Gene pick, maybe a little bit more than the RT. We've seen the
Vengeful Spirits going out for VTZM, forcing them back. Adinio and Pizzinho. As Kaido comes in, he's in a great position here as a Rico. You love to have those walls to hand. Adinio's got to get out of this, and he's trying his best, but taking a lot of shots along the way, conceding a lot of damage. Pizzinho just can't quite land their shots. This aggression could go against Clash if they're not too careful. It's going to be controlled aggression, or this will go incredibly quickly.
Yeah, no more Vengeful Spirits left either. Wesley trying to make a play and pinch across, and they might have been caught out of position here. Kodok doesn't find it. Pizzinho with the TP in. 2v1, same situation. He's got the other form as well. He can plant those legs. Tufa knows it as well. Jump to the backside of the map, and Bando de Lucos close it out in a big upset to start the day.
My goodness me, you just heard the sound of everyone's predictions shattering over at event.brawlstars.com. My word. But deserved. Clash did not look themselves today, and a couple of too many mistakes. Just found themselves behind and then couldn't quite make up the time to catch up. Not the result they were looking for, not the result at all. But what a day for Bando de Lucas to go from last month with 0 sets against Clash to now securing the win to get to today's grand final. What a result for them.
I mean, that really is incredible. You know, with their lack of points from the previous month, they're now in a position to get so many more being in this finals. They just looked so good today. They're playing so well. The cohesive unit that they're bringing, they looked good in the first set. We saw a little bit of fight back after that from Clash, but from there on, they played these unpredictable, unusual comps. Gray being brought in, which we haven't seen in a while. Little walking cane every now and again, some shots through, and he really did play incredibly. Wesley today, though, has just been so flawless in so many of those game modes, making big plays, but a massive amount of big team play from Bando de Lucas to bring it home for them.
Yeah, massively enjoyable Grey plays, weren't they? I mean, again, I'm still a bit on the fence. I'll definitely mention Grey on this map next time round. It seems to be one of those ideas that a lot of players want to utilize, but when you play it like that, it's just so enjoyable to watch, and that was an incredibly enjoyable set. It really had me on the edge of my seat, and Bando de Lucas thoroughly deserved it. They made their draft work, and they had a plan. You know, they were able to demonstrate to us that maybe this was a brawl that deserves a bit more credit. Lovely reaction there as well. You can just see how much it means to them.
Yeah, so pleased with that win, and you've got to be against hugely notorious players, 3 of the most well-known players in the world, never mind just South America, and 2 for VTZM and Kaidog, taking a loss in the semi-finals of this monthly finals here today, and Bando de Lucas, Pizzinho, Edinho, Wesley all playing so well, and another circumstance of, you know, that damage doesn't automatically mean you're going to be getting wins. Let's take a look at see who you have voted as your MVP, and honestly, after watching the first set, I think we could have predicted that.
I mean, for me, it could have even been Tufa on the losing team as well, because honestly, those 2 players absolutely played out of their minds and thoroughly deserved. Wesley was absolutely on fire with the Bonnie earlier today, had some great moments in the Dynamite pick as well, and just getting everything to work. And I think, yeah, thoroughly deserved victory as well for all people involved. But again, let us know in the chat, guys, over on the stream chats, how are you getting on with your predictions? We're doing not that great today, but nonetheless, another match still to come. We're going to be right back after this. Welcome back to the Brawl Stars Championship, where things are starting to get hot and heavy here in the South America region. I'm Mark, of course, here joined with Teddy now. Teddy, what was that like from the sidelines, mate?
Dude, what a crazy opener of a match. We were a little bit worried, you know, that history would repeat itself in this monthly final. It turns out that it's nothing like it already, dude. That 3-1 scoreline and some of the most incredible games I've watched in a long time. That Brawl Ball set, as well as Knockout, was just perfect. Loved every second of it.
Thoroughly enjoyable, wasn't it? It really was. And again, now with Super Renegade is up next versus Zest. hold your horses, guys, as the predictions might not be so clear-cut if Super Renegados are bringing the same magic that we saw from Bat and Lucas today. Let's check out their roster as well, first of all. Doritos as well, Juby and Kalba there for Super Renegados. It wasn't the best of results for them last month against this very team, Zest. It was a 0-3 for them. They were leaving the competition in the semi-finals, but this is a new month, as we've already found out in the last matchup. Anything can change in just a few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, right now, they have proof of it, right? They have proof that the underdogs can win those matchups. The Titans can fall. And Super Renegados, they're going to have to take some inspirations from their counterparts in quarterfinal 1 in this matchup against Zest if they want to stand a chance.
Well, they are up against Zest, and this is just not any normal team. This is last month's monthly final champions, and there is a big mountain for Super Renegados to climb in that respect. Motep, Pekka, and Firecrow, of course, a combination of last year's Clash and Chasma Gaming BR rosters, and they are looking very, very fierce, in my opinion. Didn't drop a single set throughout the entirety of this bracket last month. It was a 3-0 against Super Tufa in the quarterfinals. It was a 3-0 against Super Renegados in the semifinals, and a 3-0 against Clash in the grand final. So yet to drop a single set so far this year in the BSC.
Yeah, dude, I still love that this roster is a thing in the first place, because if you look at the last year or two, how many times have we heard, watch for Motep, watch for Pekka, watch for Firecrow. I know that they're all together in that all-star lineup. It's been quite a phenomenal start of the year for them. As you said, completely undefeated, not dropping a single set in our previous monthly final. Let's see if they can do it again. However, I think that Super Renegados, they're looking for some revenge for this one and are gonna give it their best shot to throw some wrenches into their plans.
Okay, well, bans being Sprout, Grom, and Tick on the side of Super Renegados. They do not like the throwers. Tick, Gus, and Grom on the side of Zest. So a couple of duplicates there as well, and Eve coming in. Not necessarily sure that I enjoy Eve as an early pick on Shooting Star. I think like Artie coming in makes a bit more sense in the current stance of things, but Jean, massively, going to be fantastic on this particular map. There is a bit of a rise in other brawlers on Shooting Star now. Leon coming back in a bit, Byron after the result of that buff, coming in a bit more into the forefront. We saw that a little bit more in EME. Speak of the devil. Well, as we're on Byron, let's discuss why. Basic attack got a buff recently on the reload speed side of things, so it's come down from 1,600 milliseconds down to 1,450 max to add to that equation. I really like this draft from Zest. Bang on the money. Super Renegados have got still some range ideas to put to work, but I think it's a scary combo on the side of Zest, Teddy.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit, and I love that you're mentioning the Byron buff as well, because it's pretty much back to what I want to call normal, right? When Byron was very good, that's what he was like. And yeah, it's been great to see him slowly find his place back into the meta. This is one of the few maps where we've been seeing it more and more consistently. They will be facing the Janet as Super Renegados' final pick, which I don't necessarily love on this map, to be honest, especially as
be made working already. There's one going down, just keep some early pressure on and see how quickly Zest just stay outside the zone, because they've got the blue star. They can just sit back. There's no need to necessarily go on the aggressive, and especially when it's going to bring your life down on the HP side. Kalba in a very compromised position there, forces out a second gadget. He had to. Vengeful Spirits from Motep there as well go out, but it is not the greatest of starts so far from Renegados. They're trying their best to get some things moving, but realistically, they're just really going for their utility and burning through it, and Zest is going to respond soon.
So far, so good for Zest. Was a little bit of danger earlier, but nice pick up there from Pekka onto Kaubar. Let's see if they can find another with a max speed now, and Motep does have his Sheen pull as well. The pull connects, but the Janet's gonna take it up into the air and flying back to safety very nicely. Defuse the situation just a little bit, but it's still gonna be a nice 3-star lead in favor of Zest as the hatchlings spawn in and take a little bit of trouble and ammo to be taken care of, but not really anything to worry about just yet here for Zest.
Speed coming in from Pekka. Firecrow's a bit low here. It's gonna be, a bit cautious. Got super hand, but shooting up Pekka there and keeping him more in the mix is more important. So far, Zest can just kind of sit back for a little bit of time as the push has got to come in here from Super Renegados. The wrist is being tapped up there nicely by Firecrow, but 4 stars to his head now. Great takedown, but it will place a bigger bounty above his head. It's 15 seconds. The push has got to come in now, Teddy, for Super Renegados.
Final chance, and they need a lot of kills, and as the pool does connect, it's gonna actually be punished. And a nice kill there, but the landing is not quite gonna do it. Doritos trying to find a kill, but either way, it would not have been enough. A nice attempt here of a comeback for Super Renegados, but it's gonna be all zest on the scoreboard so far as they pick up game 1.
I mean, the way that I saw that game go down just instantly cried out to me control. You know, Zest looked like they are in control of the situation. They know when to push, when to sit back, and just when to wait. You haven't got to go in like headless chickens on this particular map. You can just kind of wait your time out and make sure to land the shots that you need to land when you need to land. The Motep there as well. No, great pick up there from Juby. He is weak. Love to heal out, but that 2 versus 3 Firecrow and Pekka can't really afford to push.
That's all time as well, where the Gene doesn't get to be farming his super, and we saw in the previous game how impactful that one can be. Surprise there. To be honest, Gene pools have been consistently some of the strongest utility anyone can bring. A beautiful shot there from Firecrow to reset the healing from Doritos. Motep finds a pickup onto Juby. Still across the board, low HP for Super Renegados, and Pekka's looking to exploit that, but he gets punished for his greed. Firecrow is able, however, to find the trade and keep Zest's boat afloat, leading by 2 stars now.
Can turn quickly. The blue star going to be pretty vocal here. I love this push from Pekka and Motep, just really pushing Juby back. Missed magic hand though from Motep. Could prove costly. Pekka full HP, can afford to push this with the shield gear as well, rolling in. Doritos is potentially here in trouble, and he will go down to the tick over time damage of the poison of Firecrow, and now 10 stars to 4. What an explosive turnaround this clash. Sorry, Zest are just going to town on this game.
I love Byron. And Firecrow is definitely showing us why they went for that pick. 5 stars to his name, and he's been instrumental in Zest's success so far in this opening set. A nice dash back there as Pekka is able to get a quick pickup onto Juby as well. Motep in trouble, not quite falling, and able to start healing back up with the assistance of Firecrow as well. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade, but still 11 stars in favor of Zest. Surely they should be closing this set up.
You know, the max speed as well, they're just going on the aggressive, actually. They just want to make a statement here, and that is a pretty big one to make. 22 stars to only the 10 there of Super Renegados, 6 stars in the head of Motep, 5 in the head of Firecrow as well. And a big smile from him. Yeah, thoroughly deserved of that first set, to be honest, wasn't it? It just looked like they were in control, and that was the same story we saw last month. But going into the next set, will that still remain to be the same as we saw earlier today? Already one big upset. Could this happen twice? I don't know. To be completely honest, the way that Zest are looking at the moment, I think it will take a lot.
Yeah, so far, to be honest, for Zest, I feel like this day is going as good as they could hope for, you know? Their main competition in the region is going to be Clash. When you look at points especially, right? They lost their ability to really catch up today. So if Zest can, say, win another monthly final, Clash are going to be really nowhere to be seen on the scoreboard, and the gap is going to be wider than ever. Zest going to try their best to seize that opportunity, and so far from that first set, I really feel like I have. Not to mention as well, as you said earlier, I just love the fact that they went like chasing them towards the end. Even though they knew they already won the set, there wasn't really much of a chance for Super Renegados to turn it around at that point. Zest, they wanted to, you know, put out a statement and reduce any sort of confidence that Super Renegados might still have.
Well, to really just get them shaking in their boots, didn't they? And just kind of, yeah, making their mark, standing their ground and making their territory known. 5 on top of Motep, 5 again for Firecrow, and just 3 for Pekka. I say just 3, and that was the most of anyone on the other side of the field. So that was Swoosh coming up next for Gem Grab. And again, going back to the draft, I have to reiterate, I did really enjoy what Zest were bringing into the first set. 77% of you rather over at event.brawlstars.com do feel like Zest have got what it takes to take this win, but that actually doesn't feel like that much of a comparison when you look at other teams that have had struggles, you know, having a much higher percentage. Nonetheless, let's see how this draft fares out. Renegados is going to be taking in the penny first. Fans on their side were Bo, Spike, and Sandy on the side of Zest. It was Spike, Janet, and Crow coming in now with their first pick, their first showing here. Could be a Gene. Definitely a gem carrier potential here. I think the Sandy ban was quite essential, actually, for me. Could be a Stu mid as well. That is quite a notorious idea that South America do like to float around sometimes. Gonna bring in the Max, and I love that. I really do like. It's a very, very solid pair of hands in the mid. There's another alternative. They're actually going to double down and go lane on the Max. I love that even more. Zest, keep bringing it to me. You're doing wondrous work here.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And at times as well, if Gene really doesn't have a good matchup in mid, we've seen it being played on lane and Max mid instead. And that level of versatility that this sort of comp brings in can be really nice because, let's be honest, Gene is going to do a wonderful job at scouting out the bushes too. So I feel like it provides a lot of value and just options available to them depending on what kind of matchups they run into. Pam is going to be the follow-up pick here from Super Renegados. They will have their third pick now to be locked in momentarily. And I don't mind their draft per se. I just feel like with the mechanics that Zest have on their side and the brawler picks already, I can't help but side towards them.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely still options. I mean, I always love an Amber, you know that on this particular map. But there's some tanky ideas as well. You know, bringing in Ash could be an option, but they have got the problem here that Zest can respond and shut it down. Stu going to come in for them. Yeah, I mean, that is definitely going to be a good brawler for this particular map. And I assume you're going to be taking the mid role or maybe going lane and keeping the Penny the mid. And if that's the case, I don't know whether I'm as much of a fan of it, to be honest. But either way, I just feel like what Zest are cooking, I am smelling and I am enjoying. And this third and final pick could be very aggressive. And I think for Super Renegados, they should be worried about that. It could be a number of things. Sam with that recent nerf, a little bit, maybe knocking him out of the running here on double swoosh sense, but still, RT going to come in. I'm curious to see how that will fare. I can understand how, you know, separating the legs on this particular map could be more of a hazard, actually, in the bush. On the side of Super Renegados, they haven't really got much to break in that respect. So let's see how Zest will fare. But I just like, even before the RT appeared, what they're working with here. So Super Renegados might have a battle in their hands here.
Yeah, I like to come more from Zest as well. I'm a little bit confused as well what the game plan exactly is going to be with a Penny and a Stu on the side of Super Renegados, who is going to be running it into the mid. I feel like both brawlers just don't do the best on lane here. They could be played out, but it seems more like a last-second adjustment, a little bit of panic perhaps. Seeing this strong draft from Zest, it's going to be the Stu mid, which makes the most sense to me. Juby was a bit of a questionable opening dash, but he'll have another one in no time if he connects a couple of shots. And some nice teamwork there for Zest to pinch out the Pam on the right-hand side and claim the numbers advantage. Gem-wise, it's not quite a number advantage for them just yet, as Juby's been doing a pretty strong job in the mid so far, and Motep is going to be overextending his welcome on the right-hand side. Super not quite enough to pick up that kill to Doritos, and Super Renegados can cement their position down in the mid.
Flycrow has the magic hand on the left-hand side now, but they are having Max in the mid. Just kind of interesting. I would prefer to see the Gina have Max lane, but nonetheless, let's see how it goes. Pekka Yed's going to go down there, and it was pathing really strange, because considering that it's surely going to be Mama Squeeze on the healing station side, and it's looking all over the place at the moment for me. This a bit out of place, but Flycrow trying to do a little sneak attack here. Watch out, who let him cook? But it didn't serve to any avail. It's just kind of weird stuff being thrown up by Zest. They seem like they have an idea, but it's just not kind of working in any respect. It's just a bit all over the place to me.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily mind the idea, but the mortar was blocking both pools and giving information, which was so valuable. Juby is low, he's gonna fall, that's gonna be the reset, but no chance here to cancel the countdown again immediately for Zest, as they weren't able to steal any of those gems away. It's 11 onto the Penny, as Juby is going in with some dashes here, and there Firecrow will be set on fire as well, and Cowber is on the other side of the map, safe and sound, sitting behind a salty barrel, flexing that he has one left as well. And that was quite a statement from Super Renegados. A nice way to get back into this match, and also a nice timing to do so too, way before it's too late.
Well, that is going to be a sigh of relief, but I don't know, for me, whether really it was Super Renegados playing better. I think it was Zest playing a lot worse. and they've just got to get down to business and have Gene mid, Max lane, and land these magic hands, get the communication flowing, have everyone ready for that big pull, land the pull, get the takedown. And that wasn't the place they were kind of taking it from the previous game. Let's see how things will fare this time around. Peck on the right-hand side gets to take down Doritos. Motor pushing forwards, gets the speed zone taken care of. And now Juby getting a ton of pressure from Firecrow and Pekka. And look at the difference. I mean, the gems going to the hand of Pekka there. Pretty should have been Firecrow, but nonetheless, I mean, that is looking already a world of difference from the previous game.
Yeah, it really is. The TP back there from Motep to try to stay up in the aggressive position on the left-hand side. Just not going to be quite meant to be, as he did get taken out. Back in a more defensive position now, but Firecrow has a pull. And that could be the opening that Zest need to take away this game. A pull onto Juby does connect. He doesn't even see it coming. Gets shut down, and Doritos is aggressive with the healing station as well. Not one that will stand for very much time, as the salty barrel from Cowbird also gets taken out quite quickly by Pekka. It's 9 gems for Zest, but Pekka is there still contesting the mid all by his own. Be the countdown locked in.
Really great magic hand there, and another one to follow up for Firecrow and the support there from Pekka. Great stuff. It's almost like Zest have got, me in my ears, because everything that I'm telling them they should be doing is coming together perfectly this time around, and that is a much, much better game. Nothing that Jimmy could do there at all. Zest will take it, but the set still up for grabs here. But I'm now a little bit more reassured that Zest can take it, because honestly, in the previous game, it just did not look like they had it in them. But just by putting things back to basics, keeping that Max on lane, keeping the Gene on mid, and just having those support factors there for those pulls, because even at one point when they did get the pull on Juby, like you said, they weren't expecting to have 2 people to deal with, but because Motep was there ready for it, Firecrow with the communication, everything was able to take care of the situation quickly, and that's put Zest back in the driving seat.
Yeah, but personally, I agree with you. I feel like Gene mid has been much more successful here for Zest. I don't mind the Gene on lane per se, but I think it's very matchup dependent and situation dependent. And I like that they, have the option to adjust if need be, but the default here should. Juby's gonna get scouted out again. And we have some nice aggression from Doritos that will scout Firecrow as well, but the pinch is there. Pekka is able to get the kill, and Firecrow gets to follow 2 gems that spawned in favor of Zest, and that Gene pull as well is going to be a nice deterrent for any sort of aggression around the mid area.
Big pickup there from Pekka. Salty barrel to serve no avail. Firecrow gets the pull, gets the swift takedown as well, and the healing station just wasted there. Really, Juby's going to try to utilize some of it, but gets the takedown for his troubles. Can't go too much on the aggressive now, because the 4 gems will be lovely in the hands of Firecrow here, and it's probably 1 shot away from super as well. Peck on the right-hand side just trying to suppress the situation, because Cowbird is a bit of a problem. He's gone the aggressive, and another wasted gadget for him. That's great news for Zest. They tie up now in terms of gems, but no magic hand is a bit of a problem now. Zest would love to be able to secure it, and Firecrow needs to land it.
A nice lead now for Super Renegados, but the positioning here is a bit weaker. Motep trying to hold on to that position, but it's surely only going to be a matter of time until he goes down. Still finding some decent value all around, and the gem lead is back onto the side of Zest. Juby does have a dash. That's gem number 10. They need 2 in a row now for Super Renegados if they want to try to even things out. Otherwise, they'll need a kill.
Oh, Firecrow, outstayed as well. Cowbird's going to pick up a couple, just enough of a time to try to bring them forwards. Pekka got the aggressive, then Juby's back in trouble. Pekka gets the takedown, steals the gems, and a big slip there from Super Renegados as Zest are on the run.
10 seconds left. Super Renegados need to take down Pekka, but can they do so, as Firecrow and Motep are going to be his bodyguards, and Zest will be picking up a second set. It's getting more and more competitive here, and Super Renegados definitely showing some good strength here in gem grab. However, it's still not quite enough to take down the February monthly finalist champions, and Zest are now 2 sets above their opposition.
Well, Super Renegados, did bring back a game last month, but didn't bring back any sets, and time could be ticking in that respect for them. If they're going to be able to do so, they're going to have to do a great deal. Because I did feel like the game that they won in Gem Grab was more the fault of Zest than it was really themselves just kind of going into that 10th gear position. But a couple of mistakes that really did prove costly towards the end. And Zest are looking very, very good for me. The drafts just seem to be very much more on point with what I'm kind of expecting to see, and the results that, yeah, Pekka's playing a great game today, isn't he, really? That's a great steal there from him. And just all-round control, aggression, speed, agility, just everything really coming together for them. And the stats, as I'm saying, that Pekka had a phenomenal game. I think that just about backs it up, doesn't it? 15 takedowns, 271 DPS. I mean, that is a stat to behold.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think you kind of needed to with that comp as well, right? You're not going to be expecting your Gene to get the most damage or the most kills. And RT so far, to me, has still been a little bit of a letdown. And I feel like it was probably, you know, maybe not quite stats from a stats perspective, but in practice, I did feel like it was not the most impactful brawler in the field. And Pekka definitely made up for it. Maybe even stole the spotlight a little bit with his phenomenal max plays.
Going then into knockouts and out in the open. Let's see what they have to bring to this draft, banning out the Max, the Grom, and the tick on the side of Super Renegados. And Zest's going to be drafting in the Eve first pick. Their bans were Brock, Squeak, and Gus. I do prefer those bans myself. Actually, I think that those three are big heavy hitters on this particular map. The Eve first pick's always going to be a good one. Mandy, I don't know. We saw a little bit of a moment in many of the other regions when Mandy sort of first came out, but it has absolutely slid off. So as a first pick, I don't know whether I'm too convinced yet. Let's see what they follow up with, because Penny's still available. A lot of other ranged ideas. I think it's a bit early for Piper. Janet going to be coming in for Renegados. I don't mind that for me. But let's see now. Zest with a chance to respond, and there's still a great deal of options there available.
Honestly, I kind of like the Mandy. Don't get me wrong, I agree with your take completely. I don't think it's the best brawler at the moment, but I feel like it's a bit of a risky one that sometimes can just really pay off and give you the advantage. If you are able to hit a miracle super or two, I feel like you can really make the difference, especially early on into the rounds. If you are able to carry it over from the previous one, it's going to be a bit of a challenge to make that happen. But I like the fact that they're taking risks with the draft, because so far it hasn't been paying off quite as much as they would have liked. Zest will be locking in the Bonnie now to match Janet that was on Super Renegados' side. And I do like the come from Zest more so far. I think Eve here now is quite a decent brawler. Nani to close out the comp is a bit more of an interesting one for me. Not necessarily my go-to when it comes to out in the open, but I don't hate it either. I think it can do very well here if played right.
I think it's to deter the idea of the Piper, to be honest. So if Super Renegados go for that, and I do worry, because they should have the upper hand. Is the that's something which they can have a bit more visibility on, but I'm not too overconfident with it. It's definitely one of the most versatile brawlers in the entire game for me. Landing shots can put a lot of pressure on in the mines, obviously in the later stages of knockout.
Yeah, the bow is an interesting one to me. We'll see how that plays out. Overall, a pretty interesting comp from Super Renegados, as Firecrow is gonna a bit of an earlier start onto that right lane, but some good damage, and that's already first blood. Juby falls. Doritos going aggressive to try to make up for it, but it doesn't quite pay off, and as they're both low HP on the side of RNG, they'll need to slow Zest, and Super Renegados just not much room for mistakes here.
Yeah, you can just see to drop the base and taking a few tires on the way as well. But the bow with the Super Totem rework has had a bit of a knock-on effect. Not the biggest, but it does deflate a little bit of his utility pack. And now you're going to be earning more super, but whilst your teammates are earning super value inside the radius, and that's not always possible. good pinch here going on as Motive goes in and finds their Doritos, and his teammates are just miles and miles away. Hatchling's going to be just ticking down Calvin a little bit. Nice pick up there from Firecrow. They're just making it look easy. Zest move on to match point.
Beautifully done by Zest. I feel like draft-wise, they just never really... And Super Renegados now with their backs against the wall cannot afford to miss any plays up. They need every interaction to be going their way, and the return to sender here to ensure that Pekka resets just a little bit quicker.
Yeah, Doritos is struggling a bit because he wants to stand still to get the shot off, but then Pekka is just keeping him suppressed so much. Low HP all around, really, look at that. Oh, big takedowns there. Calvin gets the ball onto Motive as well. They have an opportunity now, it's a 2 versus 2. Hatchling soon to come out, but that will reset the healing for Firecrow. He's going to be a little bit cautious. Can't really push forwards too soon. Keep coming in. Where will it land? Let's come back around. Calvert goes down 1,000 HP, and that will allow Firecrow to maybe find an opportunity, but Juby is doing a decent job of protecting him in the meanwhile. Now comes in, great takedown there from Firecrow, and just now the pinch between himself and Pekka. Will Calvert survive this? Surely not. Return to sender pop just in the eventuality of something, but nothing was the option there. And Zest now just one singular round from making the grand final.
Yeah, that return to sender seemed more of a flex to me than really necessary gadget pop. But early on here, Motive does take a lot of damage. Doritos is yet to even get a single super, I believe, in this set. And I feel like with Mandy, when you have such an impactful super at times, you do need to find some more. And right now, the jump in might just settle it, and it will do exactly that. Zest close it out, and that's going to be a pretty clean 3-0. Not quite a clean sweep, but very close to it. Dropping one game, I believe that was in Gem Grab, and what a victory here for Zest to lock in their spot into the grand finals again.
Yeah, great stuff from Zest, and cannot wait to see how they fare now in that grand final. This looked very, very confident, very much like we saw them last month. So great to see that they've been staying on top of their game, keeping themselves fresh. And you know, in terms of their scrimmages, I'm sure, no doubt about it, just having a really, really solid game plan. I love their drafts. I think the drafts were very much on point with what I was looking to see from them here today, and they just made it work with a great deal of aggression. Pekka had a fantastic game for me as well, and everyone doing their bit, of course. But again, like, he was shining, especially in that map of double swoosh for Gem Grab. Really, really did cut the mustard. But yeah, bittersweet there for Renegados, of course, you know, having to play the same team for a second month running and getting the exact same result. But no doubt about it, they'll be back. They've got some great stuff going on. Just got to work on a couple of details there. But good stuff, more or less, from them. It's a very tough opposition, really, isn't it? Zest at the moment, to me, just feel like they are the better of the team to beat in this region at the moment.
It really seems like it. They did win the monthly finals last month, and they're making it to the grand finals this month again, looking to lock 2 in a row, like Zeta Division did yesterday for the EMEA region. And stat-wise, I mean, let's be honest here, Super Renegados are just kind of nowhere to be seen. 2 kills in total, both onto Cowber, and for Zest, they're sitting comfortably on 12, and I mean, that means that, yeah, if you just count the kills, 12, that's exactly what you need to be winning those rounds. So very nicely done by Zest, looking very, very confident in this one. And I like as well that was the draft they were.
Like that. We had a little bit of fight back here and there, but at the end of the day, I think it's kind of what we all expected.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it looked like they were firmly in control, and we did go for Zest in our predictions, guys, over at events.brawlstars.com. Hopefully in that instance you did, and maybe you didn't for Clash because we got that one wrong so far, but, you know, 1 out of 2 ain't bad anyway. But of course, make sure to sync your game there, connect and get your Superstar ID to get those in-game rewards. Here, of course, being the bracket for how today has gone down. A 3-1 in favor of Bandit de Lucas, a big, huge upset in that first semi-finals, knocking out Clash. And that means that Clash will not be in our grand finals for the first time this year. So Renegados, of course, just went down to Zest. So it'll be Bandit de Lucas versus Zest for our grand finals in the South America East region. Going into our predictions, You can see it there. We all for Zest, and we were all thinking that Zest are going to take it in the grand final.
Honestly, as you said, I still kind of stand by that prediction. I feel like Clash is still the better team between those two. Little few poor drafts, and we'd have still predicted them against Clash. So I think against Bando de Lucas, you've still got to stand by it as well.
Let's take a look at the Bando de Lucas roster. Spinzino, Adino, and Wesley. And again, Wesley with that MVP over at event.brawlstars.com earlier today. I do feel like he is very, very dangerous. He had some serious breakfast this morning. He's got all the energy in the world. Nonetheless, I do love the way that this team were playing today. They were just bringing out all the stops. They had some interesting drafts, shall we say. Wasn't the biggest of fans, but hey, it worked out, this goal as well. Beautiful stuff. Medino, very, very nice landing there to find that pocket, and some great plays from Bizzino, wasn't it, in knockout. Really took us all by surprise, and everyone just came together in that set and just, left Clash with no options. Where and what could they do? Very little is the answer to that, and again, we'll hope to see Clash next month, but look at the reaction on the cam. Everyone just on their feet, and rightly so. They've made the grand finals, and they are the underdogs in this scenario. Just imagine if they go all the way here today. But the vibes are definitely there. The team obviously in good spirits, and rightly so. Points-wise, going to be on top of the world. Let's take a look at Zest, Teddy. This is Motep, Pekka, and Firecrow. We just saw them play today, but these guys go way back into last year and previous years before that, right?
Yeah, they are probably one of, or if not the most experienced roster in the South American region. All those players have been already legends in the scene for a very long time. It's a bit of a different perspective compared to RNG, right? Because they do have BDL rather, because they do have just that edge when it comes to how long they have been sticking around and how much experience they have at a pro level. But I mean, we've seen crazy upsets already today from BDL. I think there is a chance here that BDL does it again. I would love to see that happening. But Zest, they are the all-star roster of the region, and they're looking to hold on to their title of monthly final winners.
Yeah, I think I stand by my prediction still. If any of you guys want to change, just feel free to let me know. I think Zest for me are looking just a bit more connected as a unit, a bit more concise in terms of their drafting. But I love an underdog story, and the way that Bando de Lucas has surprised me so far today against Clash, I kind of feel, and I wouldn't judge you guys for it, I feel like they might have a chance here, more so than I think we would have had in terms of this discussion at the beginning of the show. In terms of their drafts, Trav, what do you make from them? Because I'm a little bit on the fence by it. There's some things I like, some things I absolutely didn't really kind of gel with. Where are you at in terms of their drafts and what you've seen today already from Zest by comparison?
Well, I think Bando de Lucas in terms of draft, they were a little bit more out there, and I think they knew they had to be against a team like Clash. They're coming into that one heavy underdogs and coming into this one even heavier underdogs. So I don't doubt that maybe we'll see some unusual drafts once again. We saw that double thrower and brawl ball. It paid off. They might be trying to do something similar to Zest, but I think Zest have kind of got to stick to what they know. They've been playing quite a lot of Max, quite a lot of Gene, and that seemed to work for them. Just the typical meta that works if you're incredible at the game, and they are just that good.
So with that in mind, Teddy, in regards to Zest and how they choose to do their drafts, or rather how Bando de Lucas can try to find a bit of an upper hand within their strategy when it comes to drafts, what would they be looking to ban here against Zest?
Well, we saw a lot of Max, we saw a lot of Gene coming in from Zest so far. That was, for me, what's been repeated the most in their semi-final match. So that could be a bit of an obvious way, but I don't even know if that's necessarily the way they want to go for the grand finals, because I feel like, Gene and Max are pretty standard brawlers overall, and maybe they play them out so much to try to not give away their hand too much because they were very confident in their semi-finals match. So it's really tough call. I feel like BDL, they're going to have to know something that I don't if they want to make this one happen.
This is why we're on the casting desk, Teddy, all good for a good reason. But, I think this could be a closer affair than some at home might be thinking. We'll obviously check out the poll later on today over at event.brawlstars.com to see how you guys are feeling about it. Love to see if Pizzino's got the shades on. Clearly, Bando de Lucas are in great spirits. I feel like almost, regardless, to get to the grand final to them was already been a bit of their victory today, Trav.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of their scrims will have been for that semis as well, so they might not be as prepared for this as they'd like to be.
Good point, yeah.
Clash were a team who should in reality have beaten them. They did it last month in a good fashion. They didn't manage to do it this month. And, with that, maybe they did prepare some of those odd drafts, and maybe they'll have to go back to something a little bit more usual. As I said, you will have expected them to have been just grinding those certain maps that we saw in the semis.
Well, guys, I'm going to be stepping down for this game. You guys taking away 8% only for BDL on this one. Zeist, 92%. Pretty convincing stuff. Teddy, what do you make of that?
Well, remember, another match was very similar percentages, and BDL being below 10 and their opposition above 90 didn't really go as we planned, did it?
No, it didn't, and we've seen so many of these this weekend as well. I'll say, you know, through APAC and through Europe yesterday, through this today, and all the predictions have been so one-sided now that the audience have kind of got a feel of it after that first month and seeing who these stronger teams are. This one, it's obviously not 92%, but I don't disagree with it anyway. You know, we saw it in the same in the Clash game, but this one I feel a little bit more confident in Zest being able to take them down. Baden's in though, obviously we're on harder up mine. We've got the B, we've got the Janet, we've got the Max. On the other side of things, we've got the Stu, the Spike, and the RT. So, I mean, Max banned out the way. This is something we may have expected them to have banned out regardless. So maybe they're going in that direction we kind of expected and banning out those brawlers that Zest have been so successful with.
Yeah, I don't mind this approach at all. I mean, I feel like they need to try to mess up the plans that Zest have in store so far. It does feel like Zest hasn't really been challenged much in the region, and that sort of approach is exactly what I think BDL should try to go for if they want to have as many chances on their side to take this match home. It's their first grand final appearance this year. I mean, there's only been 2 really. But either way, I feel like BDL, they really want to make the most out of it, and with the momentum they carried over from their victory over Clash and seeing how much passion they brought into their game against Clash earlier too, I really want to be cheering for them, man, but their draft is going to have to be absolutely on point.
Yeah, I think we kind of just got to hope they don't get too complacent and be satisfied with the second place rather than striving for that first and beating Zest as well, because taking down Clash already, it's a big thing for them, and it's a big thing for the points they're going to have accumulated. You know, being knocked out in the semis last month and getting to the finals this month, even if they get second, they're going to be pretty much bang on, even on points with Clash now. So definitely in a good position for them for that LCQ, and maybe even going forwards into future months for that world spot as well if they can contest Zest today and in future months.
Yeah, it's absolutely massive for long term, and it's lovely as well to see that shift happening this early into the season as well. But the draft is finally kicking in. Apologies, we'll to do a little bit of a reset for some technical reasons. And here we go. We'll see the Penny first pick following the B, Max, and Janet bans from BDL as Zest banned out Stu, Spike, and RT. Let's see what the follow-up pick here is going to be from Zest. But personally, I don't mind the Penny pick here. It's not really my favorite early pick, or first pick rather, even on Hard Rock Mine. And it's an interesting approach, to be honest, to go roughs against it. I'm doubting that he will be bringing the sandbags alongside him, because against a Penny, those are not going to fare very well.
Well, it's definitely a little bit of a tough one, especially if they're bringing the sandbags. You've got to hope they're going to be bringing down that Meteor Raining Star Power or getting that matchup correct. They're going to be taking this Ghost, and we've seen this played down mid quite a few times, and it's surprising to see it being picked here with, you know, the Gene still available, which they've been playing so well. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to pair it with the Max that they've done in the past, but 8-bit also still on the map also, so maybe Gene wouldn't have been that first pick, but an 8-bit. Throw it back over to Bando de Lucos now, and they've got 2 picks in a row here to try and combat what Zest have done so far. And honestly, as you said, I like the Penny as a first pick. It's pretty versatile. You obviously get the Mortar up, the Salty Barrel, which is going to be able to tank so much damage, and it really adds kind of the extra person on the map. There's the 8-bit I was talking about, and not only is this kind of been an incredible pick for them, but it also, if they wanted to rotate that Gust lane and play the Gene in the mid as that last pick and have that kind of pivot, it kind of stops them from doing it now.
Well, the 8-bit is definitely something I do like on Hard Rock Mine. That is going to be for sure the designated mid. I wasn't entirely certain what the plan was going to be with the Penny, to be fair. I was kind of assuming it wouldn't be mid, because I feel like it kind of does lack range to be the strongest mid option in my books. But they will be bringing out the Leon Wizard to go on to the second lane, and I don't mind it. It's not a brawler we see as much recently, but I kind of miss it in a way, and I'm hoping that they can make something really nice happen with it. And to a certain extent, if you play it well, I mean, you can go for some really key assassination, and if you somehow manage to find a gem carrier in the process, that could be absolutely massive in the sort of win conditions that BDL are hoping for. But Sandy is going to be a nice way to try to deal with that as well, whether it's to put any sort of aggressive ideas to sleep or scart them away with a sandstorm. I like the idea, and personally, I am going to be siding with the comp of Zest here again.
Yeah, you see, I mean, I agree with the fact, obviously, with Sandy being able pretty good against Leon, putting him sleep, Rude Sands with the Sandstorm as well. But overall, I think when you look at the 8-bit and you look at the Penny, those are probably two strong brawlers in comparison to anything that Zest have got on their side. And they might have this kind of advantage on one of those lanes, but I feel over the rest of the map, Bandit Luca should be able to do a pretty decent job against the rest of it. So pretty 50-50 in terms of comps here, I do think. And Pizzini obviously going to have this range advantage, just needs to get booted up with that, that plugged-in star power and get that movement going.
Moitep is going aggressive. Edinho does get scouted, and we still do see the sandbags. Luckily for Moitep, he is far away from the Penny. A nice pinch, as Firecrow is going to be the one to get the kill, but the positioning from Moitep was key. Pekka also in the back line, and early on, it's already a massive head start for Zest after they took down the gem carrier. It's now 6 gems to their name, none for BDL.
Well, Sandstorm's there, and that's going to add a little bit more to that as well, as Firecrow's going to be able to go for that 7th, and Pekka's going to pick up the kill on the left-hand side. Nice follow-up shots as well. Gadget connects also, and a little super being provided to Pekka there. Sadly, he didn't really manage to stay in that bush and stay under the radar instead of getting taken down, but there's the kill, and Wesley's going to fall as well. Just Adinho left. He doesn't have a super, but he goes aggressive, and Firecrow has one of his own, provides that shield to himself, and sitting pretty safe on 10 gems with both of his teammates pushed up and kind of stopping them from making any moves.
So far, a very strong showing from Zest. A couple seconds left and no one in the near vicinity of Firecrow. And Zest will be locking in game number 1. Pekka seems unfazed by this result so far. Pretty much things going to plan. Very focused as they should be at the stage of the competition.
Yeah, definitely. Back to the drawing board after that one. Need to make some different plays, maybe swap of lanes and try to get those matchups a little bit better, although they did have the Penny on the Sandy and have the Ruffs on the Leon, so definitely probably what would have been better in my eyes anyway. Sandbag stand this left-hand side, though, and it's just Firecrow dominating this mid, really. Doesn't seem to be missing too many shots whatsoever, and gets the gadget and a little bit of damage off there as well. Shield towards Pekka, who's just going to be able to walk in a straight line and take down Wesley here with a nice little sleep as well. Great stuff from him. Break available. Pizzini, the only one remaining. And power up, gems, everything in the hands of Zest at the moment.
Yeah, what a dominant start for Zest again. 6 ahead, and BDL now at last getting some mid presence. The damage booster placed down as well. Gonna be some nice utility, but Pizzini is very low HP. Edinho also very low himself. He's trying to heal back up, but the shield is on point, and that's going to help lock in the elimination onto that left lane. Wesley also getting pinched left and right. Salty Barrel plays down, but that's not quite going to be enough to secure his future amongst us, as he will go down, and Firecrow even finds another. It was nice team wipe, and the countdown locked in now with very few chances for BDL really to interrupt it.
Yeah, I mean, Morton's going to make a connection, and even at that, he just placed a shield on himself and got the Sandy super down as well. 2 seconds on the clock, and with some more connections and a kill from Motep, that's going to seal the deal. Zest going to take the first set in one of the most convincing games we've seen today, and that kind of just goes to show the differences between Zest and everybody else in this sub-region. Bandit Arcus have just come off the back of a win against Clash, and get dominated that hard, it really does make you worry for the future of this scene.
Yeah, it's scary. It's definitely scary, and there's a lot of factors here at hand as well, right? One, namely, that could just be the amount of preparation that went into that semifinal match against Clash, because last time they nearly got swept, and I'm assuming they put all their effort into making sure that doesn't happen again, seeing, you know, how similar the brackets were for this month as well. Which means they may not even really have expected to make it all the way to the grand finals against Zest. They definitely, you know, scrimmed against them and have some idea of what they want to go for. But it's just my prediction here a little bit that they haven't had the time to really focus as much on this matchup, and so far I feel like we're kind of seeing that, as Zest have been incredibly dominant in this opening set.
And you can't really blame them either, you know, like you can't blame them at all for focusing on their semi-final match over this one, because the more points lie in the finals, and if you get there, you're not really feeling too sad anyway. A second place, you can never complain over that, whereas that kind of like third, fourth, you're feeling a bit disappointed about losing your first match on stream, and that is not the best statistics coming out of Bando de Lucas, I'll tell you that. 0-1-0 in terms of kills in a game of gem grab. That is not good whatsoever. 3-6-6 on the other side, and that's much more like it from Zest. And even at that, it seems quite a small amount of kills for 2 games of gem grab, and especially as aggressive as they were going.
Yeah, that was very one-sided, Trev. That was very one-sided, and I think BDL are gonna have to try something a bit crazier, maybe even in the draft stage, getting into Goldarm Gulch, maybe trying to take a bit of a risk in that draft and try to lock in some sort of an advantage, go off the books, and yeah, just go with something a bit more unusual, something that Zest isn't as used to face. It might not necessarily be the optimal strat, but if you can't catch them off guard enough, you might make it work, and RT might be one of the ways to do so. They brought it with great success against Clash earlier today. Let's see if it works again, as it will be matched up by the Roughs once again for Zest.
Well, Mandy's gonna come out now, and honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about it. You guys said it in the past as well. You had your doubts, and especially Ark did. It's a little bit questionable from me, but at the end of the day, it has a nice bit of range. It just doesn't really fare the best in that kind of late game situation where Wesley definitely is going to be providing a lot more. The Roughs, however, though, I like you going to be able to get some power-ups down and stuff like that, but so far, especially with the Nanny on top of it, Bando de Lucas is where I place my money for this draft.
Yeah, the Nani is a fun one here to be brought in as well. I personally feel like the Mandy it's just not in the best place. I do like that Zest are willing to play around with it as well. It does make me question a little bit as well, since we did see it earlier too, whether or not this region, sees Mandy very highly in the meta, as Bell is going to be the final pick, a bit more of a standard and traditional sharpshooter for Goldarm Gulch, which I do prefer, but hey, I'm here for the fun of it, and I feel like Mandy is going to provide some more fun plays if it is played out right.
Well, Rico going to be the last pick then, and I do like it. I just feel like maybe this comp isn't what I would have gone for if I was Zest. I am very much siding with Bando de Lucas. The ranged approach, obviously without the Mandy, they do have that extended amount of range, but still at this point, I kind of feel like you've got to side with Bando de Lucas in terms of draft, but I don't doubt with how good Zest are that they'll be able to make something happen here.
Yeah, BDL need to take anything they can get, motivating themselves on the player cams, because they know they gotta come in hot, have a nice reset from that tough build that was the first set for them. Zest one ahead, and we'll see BDL on the left-hand side, and a split from Zest was the Rico playing range on the left, which he can certainly afford to do. Does need to be a little bit careful not to mess up his movement there, but he'll be safe and sound for the time being, as Motep finds some nice tags onto Petzinho, hoping to maybe get an early super and a sneak takedown.
Well, Firecrow's going to have a few shots coming towards him now, but he's going to be buffing up Motep quite heavily here and using that field promotion instead of breaking those walls up. So probably the smart thing to do, especially with the Rico, but with that Mandy, you kind of want the range, the map to be open, to be able to use it, but with the rest of the composition, they need these walls up, so they're going to have to sacrifice that little bit of utility to be able to get some work done. But Rico's still very heavily back in this left-hand side. You maybe expected him to make a maneuver over to the right-hand side by now, but sticking pretty heavily over there, and now does make the move, and this is where it starts to get a little bit tense. So it's towards this late game, and if Wesley can get his super, that's going to be difficult.
Do you remember the last time you've seen field promotion being played out by the Roughs?
Honestly, I don't know if I do, to be honest with you, but obviously it's good on this map, just not good enough for them to be able to win this late game, because Wesley cleans up down that bottom side along with a little bit of help from the Bell, and Bando de Lucas take that first round, little peep coming up this left-hand side. We'll see where it goes and see if it hits anything. All three of them over the right-hand side. Gonna have to be cautious, but a sandbag now, as there's no other real use for them. Turn send of him pops as well. Wesley's kind of low. Pekka got a super. He's actually burning them down. Super comes down as well, and Wesley propped into that little damage gang. It's Ficro versus Wesley, and he does find it. Gets that last connecting shot, and he was so close to being wiped out by a burst bit of damage from the RT.
What a 2v3 here from Zest, and a missed opportunity from BDL. This was their chance to lock in that game. Let's see if they can still do so, as we are all even in this opening game of knockout. Dino going for a bit of a trick shot, not quite gonna be paying off, unfortunately for him and for our eyes, really. Motive and Firecrow both took heavy amount of damage early on and need to reset now. Things are getting a bit more back to normal. However, control-wise, BDL just have a much more solid footing in the mid, and the super is going to be missed again here from Motep, and that's the danger of it. It's really hard to find those connections, and it's really hard to predict your enemy's movement as well when it takes so long for the shots to travel across the map.
Yeah, I'll say Peck is looking like a bit of a meaty Rico at the moment. Got 5k HP and still going up, but down goes Mandy up top, and the gas is going to stop underwater. Super coming in from Pekka. He gets one. Can he get the second? Just throws out a super, and Wesley puts that down right in front of him, denies him of anything else. And Bando de Lucas going to take the first game of knockout.
I mean, nevertheless, a really fun set when it comes to the brawlers that are being brought in here, and kind of gameplay we're seeing. BDL able to strike back very nicely, not let Zest build up too much momentum early on in the series. But either way, they still have some catching up to do, and this game is their chance to do so, and hopefully for them bring it back once at each.
Some shots down the left-hand side now, and he does get a slowdown onto him with the gadget. Can they get the follow-ups? 3 of them there, so maybe a little bit of a burst potential play could happen, but a few of these bounces and almost going down there, the roughs, as the bounces from the bell shot, but he's getting pinched in now. Edinho just shoots the wrong way, and Bounce Castle forced out. Regardless of having these walls up and the bounces available to 2 of the characters, they're not getting the most damage in.
Yeah, some good value from those bell shots as well. Fine Crow trying to buff everyone up as much as he can with field promotion, but it doesn't feel like it was the most impactful in the previous game. A buff is going to be dished out, and it's going to be Motep to carry it. I do feel like he's not been the most impactful so far on that Mandy, but maybe they have different plans here. Getting into the later stages of this run, Wesley does have his super, but he's incredibly low. A missed super from Pekka there, no value, but it's a 2v1. Pekka finds a collection at last, 1v1 against Edinho, and Pekka is able to clutch this one up, but it's a really close call anyways. And Zest, they certainly cannot sit comfortable with the current way things have been going here in Gold Arm Gulch.
Yeah, I will say as well, though, Pekka stepped into that gas with the mark on him. I'm sure it'd have probably gone down if he waited just a slight second more, but in this round, it is Firecrow who takes the first death. We've seen 2v3 happens on this map. Sadly, it wasn't in the last one, but it is a possibility. Peep coming out, and Motep just gets hit by a little tiny bit of its hitbox, and this is surely going to go away the Bando de Lucas. It's not lost for Zest yet. They've still got another round to try and bring this back, but could be quickly going to a set number 3 here, and it being 1-1.
I love that. It does feel like slowly but surely we got a real match at our hands here. This BDL did start off slowly, but it's been looking better and better, and Pekka's just hoping to maybe get a little bit of a super before the gas eventually takes him straight to heaven. But there it is, final round, and a chance for BDL to claim the set with it. Zest, they still want to contest it. They don't really want to give anything away either, because locking in 2 monthly final wins would be huge for them points-wise and ensure that they stay above the competition in the leaderboards.
Yeah, Mandy shots eventually hitting. Super comes out here, and yet again another miss, and I have no clue why they're providing these power-ups to her. She's just not doing anything, really. I don't even know if we've seen her get a single kill or anything like that. Maybe Rico would have been the better option, but Wesley is quite low, and these long-range shots eventually are hitting. Now, with the power-up, I guess it kind of does allow her to 2-shot Nanny and maybe bring Edinho quite low after a couple of shots, but Wesley's open for a pinch here, and Ficro surely got to punish him, and he does just that. 3v2, but Pekka is marked up.
That was some poor positioning there from Wesley, poor awareness that that pinch could come true. The sandbags placed up. Just don't want to be feeding any supers before the final stage here, as it is a 2v3. They have the advantage. Mark does connect onto Pekka, but nothing more really will Zest. Picking up this game and evening this knockout set out. This is a chance still for BDL to try to strike back and even up the scoreboard. But at the same time now, Zest, they're only a game away from being 2 sets up. And in the grand finals, when you're already such a heavy favorite, I mean, that's going to be a very big challenge for BDL. And I think they need to make sure they lock this one in.
Yeah, I mean, Myers BDL just have a much better comp in this one as well. So if Zest can close this one out, then I don't see why they wouldn't be able to close the third one out with a bit of a better matchup. Notep trying to find these long-range standing still shots from the right-hand side to the left, but at the moment, nothing just yet. Very similar positions to what we saw in the previous round, but this time it's Pekka's just not marked up, which favors them even more.
Coutinho taking a lot of damage. Wesley as well. Nice bounce there from Firecrow. Front ones as well. Is it going to be enough though as the sandbags are going to be placed down by Firecrow? Nadinho is able to stand with just a sliver of health. Nice dodge from Pekka there as well for that trick shot. Right now it seems like we go back to a little bit of a reset and 0 supers for both sides so far.
Yeah, back to that side-to-side matchup as well. Pekka getting hit hard by this bail and actually punishing, but the return to senders there. Actually just saw Ficro clip it off just before Motep hit. That could have been a big return. Slow down with the gadget, and also Adinho falls up top. 3-0 players remaining, and Zest go from a position of being terrible in this knockout set to now being 1 round away from being 2 sets up.
Crazy turnaround, to be honest. The Peep is going to be baiting on some sandbags very nicely, and Pekka is able to bait the Peep just with his slick movement. Very well done by him, just removing that back. Does connect onto the Rico. Rico force back. Finally a super connect, but the one that does hit, I think it was the first one so far, is going to be matched with a return to sender that straight up takes him down.
I mean, that's going to be devastating for him. The first time he actually makes a play happen, it's just going to get it bounced straight back in his face. But Pekka looking for a bit of redemption here over the left-hand side. But Ficro coming in, can he get the pinch off? But there's 3 players on him. He's actually going to survive this one just a little bit longer. Still got sandbags as well, avoiding some of those shots and actually surviving on. But now, Zinio still following with shots, but nobody can connect. He's dodging. But Pekka versus 2. We've seen it happen before, but he's marked up, and I don't like his chances in this one.
Yeah, I don't like him either, and it seems like he's not really gonna be giving it much of a shot himself. Run it into the gas and gives up on that round. It's gonna be 1 round that decides if we are gonna be seeing a 1-1 scoreline or a 2-0 for Zest. And 2 supers carried over here from BDL is gonna be very nice value-wise. Motep is gonna decide to tank this one nice and early, make sure that it doesn't deal as much damage as it would if it stayed up in the air for a bit longer.
Yeah, it's definitely dangerous to have this Rico powered up, and I feel like that's what they should have been doing pretty much throughout the entire thing, and he's the one making the biggest amount of impact. Adinho's going to fall low, and Wesley trying to cover for him whilst he does heal up. It's a good opportunity for Motep to pinch in, though, on Pitzinho, but he's getting some wonderful connections with those curving shots around the side of Pitzinho. It kind of seems like Zesta not in the best of positions.
Yeah. It's a really tough call, though, because they've shown before that somehow they are able to convert those into rounds. Gonna be stacked up now again. Motep maybe a little bit in danger there. It's gonna be spinning back, and the connection is there. 1v3 for Pekka now, and surely there's no chance. BDL strike back, take the set, and even things out. It's 1 set for each team as we move on to set 3.
I mean, that's the main one they need, really. If they were to go 2 down, it would have been pretty much over and just too far away from them to bring back. But 1-1, it's anybody's game now. And if they can manage to pull this off, just another couple of sets, they're going to have one of the biggest upsets in a month of upsets. It just goes to show how big this one would be. So definitely a really tough position for Zest to be in, being huge favourites, knowing Clash had something very similar happen to them, with it being so cautious on the side of Zest. And I feel like their drafting just needs to be that little bit better.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, right? Because when we saw them play against Super Renegados in their semifinal match, it did feel like Zest were not really taking too many risks when it came to the draft and playing it very standard, very safe. However, I feel like later on here, in this particular set especially, they just kind of went wild. I mean, I don't mind seeing one Rico or seeing one Ruffs. Seeing both
kills. Wesley's done very good to have 64 DPS and 6 kills there, so definitely a big thing for him, but his teammate Adinho really making the biggest amount of work done over on Bando de Lucas.
Yeah, it certainly feels like that as well, and in this one, BDL certainly had the draft zest and some fun ideas, but not necessarily the most efficient ones in my books, and they need to iron that out moving forwards. And that's why I wouldn't get too enthusiastic about BDL's chances just yet. I feel like if Zest played a little bit more safe, a little bit more conservative with their draft, they should be able to be fine at the end of the day. But at the same time, I mean, hopefully for them, they didn't just spark that little bit of hope that BDL needed to really get going, build up some momentum, and start doing exactly what they did to Clash earlier.
Well, I mean, it is on Sneaky Fields next, and this is where we saw BDL kind of pull away with an unusual draft. Well, not Sneaky Fields exactly, but Brawl Ball being the mode. This is where we saw them pull away from Clash. And if they can pull away from Zest again now with some odd drafts, or maybe even something pretty safe like we just saw in the last one, and it did seem to work, then I 100% think they can take this game down. Huge underdog still, even with it being a 1-1 position, momentum in their hands. I still feel like Zest will more than likely take this one 3-1. But if Bando de Lucas can pull something out, pull a weird draft out that'll catch them off guard, like, obviously not a double throw on this map, but like the double thrower kind of tactic, it might just pay off for them. Bands coming in now, Nita are like that, Poco and Penny inside of Bando de Lucas. Zest going to get rid of the Rosa. Don't want to see that tank, and we saw it being played so well yesterday in I think it was EU. But on top of that as well, we got the Spike pick, the RT ban, and the Squeak ban as well.
Yeah, the Spike first pick, I don't necessarily mind, to be honest. I feel like Spike is in a pretty good place at the moment, especially on maps like this, where you are going to be likely to see a lot of tanks. You can find some really nice angles here too, even with Fertilize, which can just give you some extra value as well in those more up-close fights, and his super with the mythical gear is just so incredibly deadly. That slow is brutal. So considering how hard he is to counter as well, I do really like having him early into this draft, and we'll see Janet to be facing that at least as a first pick for BDL, and it does have a decent matchup against Spike, so I do like that quite a bit. I think it's a pretty appropriate response here. It's versatile, it does pretty well across the board, and it has 3-shot potential onto the Spike, which will make Spike's life a little bit of a nightmare if they end up facing each other a lot in this following set.
Yeah, I mean, B going to be coming up next from BDL as well, and a little bit of a nice kind of long-range idea from them. Maybe they need a little bit of wall break in there as well to get the full effect, but drop the base obviously going to be quite strong in this kind of competition. As he said, blowing things down, it's not going to be able to scout out this mid the best, and it's going to be even harder to hit shots if they don't have that slow and max speed.
Yeah, and the max speed can be key here as well to change the timings a little bit and get access